It's great to be back out here, and I thought the kids today had really good energy, and they've been good, in the off season. And this is the start of our, the second phase you have in preparing for the season. First being the winter conditioning, and it was good to get guys out here, and we'll get the 2 practices in before spring break, and we'll come back and then really get into the thick of it. But it was a good start to it.
What do you think about David Edwards and moving him over to left tackle?
Well, I mean, right now, I think when you look at your offense line, you got to get your 5 best players out there, and really liked a lot of things David did last year, and so I think it's a combination of David and then making sure you got kind of the depth balance so that you're getting enough work for Patrick Castle and David Moorman and Cole and where they feel comfortable. And certainly he was on the right side, felt comfortable. Spring's a really good time to try something a little bit different for him, and then we'll see where it all ends up. But I think that's the thought behind it.
I don't think we've had a chance to talk since you hired Bob as your inside linebackers coach. What stood out about him and why you thought he could make the move from offensive line to inside linebacker?
What stands out to me about Bo is he's a heck of a football coach, and I was fortunate. I worked with him for a long time, and know the way that he teaches, and he knows this place, appreciates this place, and the players that we get to coach, and so there's no question in my mind about him as far as a fit here as a coach, and certainly flipping to the defense side of the ball, that's a world he's really familiar with. So I'm excited that he's here. I think it's really good for our staff, for our players. I was thinking about our inside linebackers and who you're going to put in that room for them, and the more I thought about it, the more excited I got for Sitch and for Chryst and Leon and Ryan, that group.
Is there any thought of experienced guys, just simply because Jim's in his first year as a defensive coordinator, was any thought at all of bringing in a guy that was experienced at inside linebackers at all?
Yeah, I think you think of every possible scenario, and yet I think you always should go with who's the best fit for us, and talk to a number of different people, and felt really good. Obviously, else you wouldn't have done it. Feel really good and fortunate that Bo's here, and like I said, I'm excited for our inside backers. I think it's a good fit.
Paul, you naming Alex the starting quarterback already. You did the same thing with Joel a couple years ago. How did that benefit Joel back then, and why do you think it'll benefit Alex to know that he's the guy moving forward?
I think each guy is different. Each reason's different. I thought that, and I didn't live it with Joel before, but there was a lot of uncertainty in his world. And I thought if you could just make it simple. There's a guy that started, going into his senior year, I don't know how many, I can do the math real quick, but I mean, he won a lot of games as a starter. And right now, we've got a guy in Alex that's, started a number of football games last year for us, and we got 2 freshmen behind him. And I like what Alex has done in the off season, and just he's earned the right to be the starter.
Paul, what does Nick Nelson add to your group, and how does he complement how Derek likes to play?
Nick Nelson's a really good football player, and as a cornerback, and we were, with that transfer year and sitting out, he didn't play in games, but we saw him play a lot of football, and I think just makes us better in the back end. How does he complement DT or any of the other guys? I don't know. It's I think he's really skilled cornerback, and way too early to tell, where's the matchups go. DT's done a lot, being able to play outside, playing the nickel, in the slot and all that, and we'll work Nick, we'll work everyone to find out what is the best, kind of what we're talking with the offensive line, how do you get your best DBs out there, and then where's their best spots, but really excited for Nick and for him to have the opportunity. Like Chris James, you've been sitting out, and this is the start of it, but for them to be able to play, it's a good thing.
Talking about trying to get the best DBs on the field, does that go with Latrell as well, moving him back to safety?
Yeah, and kind of we were talking about with David Edwards. What a great time in the spring to let him kind of sink his teeth in, and the goal is to see who are the best players. And another advantage of spring ball is you get a lot of reps. So you can really find out players and playing, and you got every other day, so you got time to practice. You can meet and you clean up and you can teach it. So just trying to figure out what's the best use of our talent, and position changes or shuffling or moving at one side to the other. I think those are all part of spring ball, so that you then know going into fall camp what's the best place for that kid and how does he help the team the most.
As spring starts, is outside linebacker one of the positions you're most curious to see how that shakes out, just because you lost Vince and TJ?
Yeah, I mean, as far as lost a lot of production, because of Vince's injury and then kind of the way it was working, TJ was getting worn down. Duels was able to play a lot, but certainly that's a spot that we were excited about what Zach Bond was doing, particularly on special teams last year, and then he got hurt. So we got an idea, but he needs to play a lot of football. It's his second spring. I think it's every position you kind of get excited about, but certainly there's a little bit more. What's Andrew Van Ginkel? There's a guy that had his first practice here today, and how does he adjust into it? So, but I think you kind of, even like the O-line that you've got some established guys, you're still excited and curious to see how that plays out. Probably D-line's the one that you'd feel most confident, say, who's your starters? You've got that.
To your previous point about spring practice, I'm just curious. I know it's tradition to have spring football, but is there a difference between having 15 practices now versus having 15 practices at the beginning of 15 extra practices at the beginning of fall?
I mean, there's certainly a difference in probably when it is. I think the advantage of spring ball is you do get a chance to spread it out more. Like I said, you've got our schedule. You practice, then you've got a meeting, practice, a meeting day, and so to teach, you can go at a little slower pace. Where I think if you were in spring or in fall, it would have a little bit more of you'd probably be practicing every day, and there's a little bit more pace to it. So I think the advantage of spring ball, if it's answering the question, is that the pace is different and is a little bit more conducive to teaching, I think.
Like you said, that Alex knows he's the guy and he feels like he's the guy. Do you feel like he has a different level of confidence now than he did after everything he went through last year?
I don't think anything that I said, I think had an impact on it. He went through the whole winter thinking he's the guy, and that's what I like about Alex. And he went through the whole fall last year thinking he was the guy, and Bart did too. And that's, you appreciate that. But I don't think that. I think he's confident in a lot of things, and he also is realistic to see a lot of areas where he can get better.
When it comes to Jack and Chryst at inside linebacker, how much work are they going to be getting in terms of?
Well, today we were able to do quite a bit of work with them. There's no contact. They won't get a lot of contact this spring, but they can still get a number of periods or opportunities in the spring to get some work. So we'll, whenever we can get that, we'll squeeze it in. And it was good to just, even today, just seeing them out there and running around the group. They give so much. Obviously, we think they're good football players, but they give a lot of energy and juice, not just to our defense, I think to our team. So it was good having them out there.